All right, so this is going to be another quick video here where I'm actually starting to find some evidence that's supporting some of my crazy claims here. So for those of you guys don't know, I've been a member of the objective personality community for a little while, and one way that I'm deciding to both improve myself and to hopefully give back over time is to really practice, learning via teaching, learning via repetition, and things along those lines that are associated with my demons, right? So I guess before I even continue, if you're not familiar with objective personality, the terminology, I'm going to include a playlist in the description where it kind of summarizes the basics. And then from there, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or things like that. So this video today, I'm reading or re-exposing myself to a lot of Robert Sapolsky's work. Robert Sapolsky being, if I'm not mistaken, he is a really astute neuroscientist and lecturer from Stanford University. And so he has a lot of information about, how the brain works, how neurochemistry works, how, things affect us on a very deep level. And so while I was reading that, I came to an insight that's very OP related. So, and basically the insight is that sleep or sleep processing or whatever you want to call it, that animal is the most direct way of learning anything. I would, even more so than any of the other ones, even the information animals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by reading out the definition of sleep, and then I'm gonna go to one of the major quotes and just kind of share what's going on there. So starting off, so this one's the sleep one. So sleep is defined, in several places as processed state, self-reflective, resolved, putting on the brakes. But importantly, and this is more so in the type of tool, there's one definition called learning via repetition, right? Now, for me, at first I was like, oh, okay, everyone has to do that occasionally, and that's what I'm doing personally for my own life. But I'm about to read a quote from his latest book, or one of his latest books, called Behave, The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst, that really kind of convinces me that sleep is kind of the way to go in order to learn anything, at least quickly. So this is the essence of learning, right? The lecturer says something and it goes in one ear and out the other. The factoid is repeated, same thing. It's repeated enough times and aha, the light bulb goes on and suddenly you get it. At a synaptic level, the axon terminal having to repeatedly release glutamate is the lecturer droning on repetitively. And the moment when the postsynaptic threshold is passed and the NMDA receptors first activate is the dendritic spine finally getting it. Okay. Now I'm not I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not going to pretend I know the nuances of what glutamate does, what thresholds and these things do. But what I do know is how to Google, and I do technically know how to really understand this from a simple level. So really what he's referring to here is neuroplasticity, which is a very common principle in psychology and neuroscience, which is basically, the brain can really change over time as you strengthen and repeat a certain mode of either behaving, really primarily, or a certain way of understanding the world and really connecting those structures there. So let me find the one that I liked. I mean, there's several videos on this, but that quote that I just read out, and then also, let me see if this is it. If not, it's going to be in one of the images. Yeah, it's probably one of the images. So don't even worry about this. Feel free to Google this yourself and just kind of get into this. But, one of the principles is nerves that wire together, fire together, wire together, right? Nerves that fire together, wire together, right? And so basically, this is kind of one of the basic ways. So really, to rephrase what Robert Sapolsky said in his quote is, if you are activating a certain synapse or a certain connection in your brain multiple times, right, in a strong and frequent way, what ends up happening is you change your brain, right? You change the neuronal structures in your brain to strengthen whatever connection you're repeating. And, finally, this is what Robert Sapolsky was implying here, learning needs ongoing reinforcement or repetition, right? And so this is really the basics of changing your brain, learning, transforming yourself, right? And I think this is the foundation really of any sort of learning, right? Because this is how neuroplasticity works. So that's going to be about it for today. I will build upon this, but the learning via repetition is essentially the foundation of neuroplasticity and learning, period, right? And so what this implies to me is that all other forms of learning are a derivative or are a offshoot of learning via repetition. So it's almost like we're all doing sleep when we learn, but the different ways of learning that are in the other animals, like consume, blast, and play, are different variations of this principle of learning via repetition. So that's going to be about it. This is a nerdy one. This was a little bit, hopefully I explained it well. But again, if you have any pushback, feedback, questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And then hopefully over time I can kind of build on this. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you guys soon.